So I have in the studio my guest for the morning to help us do the discussions. Member of Parliament for Bongo is Edward Bawa. He used to be a communication consultant for the Ministry of Energy. So rightfully, we'll be talking about AMERI and somebody who also has deep knowledge in the subjects of energy, communication, etc., who is also a Deputy Communication Minister, is Nenyi George Anda, Member of Parliament for the Ewutu Senya West constituency. Good morning to you, Nenyi.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning.
And I know that I saw you. You're in the papers and the videos that we showed this morning, the report, during the launch of the National Digital Addressing System. Yeah, you were in GTP, nicely dressed.
Proudly Ghanaian.
Proudly Ghanaian. Proudly Ghanaian. Looking like the president too, as the way of dressing, etc. And you too.
I'm sure these days, very soon, before you leave the house, the president will come and lunch something. The lunch, people should work.
Oh, but
that shows that we are working.
But do you know there's a lunch, one day through one warehouse?
One warehouse. I saw yesterday, I saw somebody called me. I was asking whether I had come for that program. I said, yeah. We're busy
so yesterday we launched two.
Sharp.
Okay.
But we'll talk.
When they're doing press conferences, we are working.
But we'll talk about AMERI very soon. But let's talk about the formal launch. Now it was just a formal launch. Before that, we had the Ghana card that was also launched, or the NAI launch and all that. And following the launch of the digital addressing system, the president said, if you don't have a house address, or if it's not been captured, it means that you're not going to have a Ghana card. Is that what he said?
Yes, it's actually your digital address is a precursor for getting your Ghana card.
Okay.
So you have to have a digital address, and then you can get your Ghana card.
But essentially, you the ministry, and indeed entire government machinery had been working on this for a number of months now. A lot of actions also had been undertaken by the government or the John Dramani Mahama administration, perhaps, unless maybe I'm not getting my facts.
Well, I mean, like I keep on saying, the program of government is not an event. It's a continuous activity.
Okay.
And so somebody can start something, somebody will continue. But specifically for the things that we are doing, the free SHS that we have launched, the reduction of taxes, the commitment to fight Galamsey, these and many more initiatives are direct initiatives of His Excellency the President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. These are things that we put in our manifesto when we said we wanted an agenda to create change, to create prosperity and equal opportunities for all. And these are things that we are committed to do to make sure that the economy is on a sound footing and to make sure that Ghana works again. It's a significant departure from the seeming lack of vision, from the corruption, from the incompetence and the economic mismanagement that Ghanaians experienced and for which Ghanaians decided to vote for change. Yesterday was a great moment for Ghana. Why am I saying so? Like you have said, His Excellency the President talked about three things. He talked about the issuance of the Ghana card. He talked about the digital addressing system. And he even gave a hint of what the next one was going to be, which is making sure that we have a platform that drives interoperability, okay, so that commercial transactions can take place irrespective of whichever platform that you are in. So you realize that we are integrating all these programs for a bigger picture. What we have done, or what we did yesterday, through the direction of the Office of the Vice President, and the Vice President was very passionate about this particular program, with the direction of Honorable Ursula Ewusu-Ekufu, the Minister of Communications, my boss, with the Ghana Post team, and with the app developers, going through the right processes, identifying a technical solution that, from the financial point of view, was delivering on value for money. The team sat together, made sure that we could go live. And today, or as of yesterday, we've gone live with the Ghana Post GPS. It's a simple app, okay? What you have to do is to go to your Play Store or go to your App Store. You download the app, Ghana Post GPS. When you download the app, we expect that you'll be standing in front of your house, or if you are in a compound house, in front of your room. That being the most likely location that if Ghana Post were delivering a message or a mail to you, they'll be able to interact with you. Now, every location, every 5 by 5 square meter location in Ghana is plotted, okay, with the GPS coordinates, okay? So when you pick your GPS coordinates, it feeds into the system, and it generates a unique digital address for you. It's a 9-character digital address system. It shows you which region you're coming from, it shows you which district you're coming from, it shows you your area, etc., etc. So you get a postcode alongside your digital address that you are going to get. Now, this is extremely good because when we do the SIM re-registration, you now have a digital address that is unique to everybody.
You mean for the telecom sector?
Yes. Okay. When you're going for a national passport, you have a digital address. When you're going for your Ghana card, you have a digital address. When you are asking for government services, you have a digital address. And Ghana Post, going forward, will be delivering all these responses for government services to your digital address. The other good thing with this is that because now you have a digital address, I mean, you have a digital address for this studio, you have a digital address for your home, you have a digital address for your wife. The banks would now be in a position to support businesses because the risk of not identifying where the person is operating from is going to be significantly reduced.
We don't have to draw landmarks again.
No, you don't. It's digital, okay? So the watch seller Antimony has a digital address now. So if my brother, Edward, let's say he doesn't live in Ghana, or he doesn't live in Accra, but he has come and I want to meet him at Antimony, I don't have to tell him that, look for this junction, look for this. I just have to send him the digital address for Antimony. He puts it in his app, and it gives him the directions through the map. It gives him the duration of the journey, okay, as well. And we meet there. So it's driving efficiency. If you want emergency services, if armed robbers attack me, I can go to the app and go to the panic section, and then whatever service that I want is the police, I just press it. Okay, it sends a signal straight to the police control room, and then the police will send assistance to wherever you are. If it's ambulance services that I want, it works. If it's fire service that I want, it works. And this whole thing, okay, it meets the strict standards of the Data Protection Commission. So there's no issue of your data being compromised.
Because yesterday evening, late in the evening, I was reading the whole act in itself. And
yes. So it meets that. But of course, with technology, Edward and I know that whilst we are in the concept stage or going live, we would believe that we've covered everything. But as technology evolves, certain things may come up that could be gaps. And that is why His Excellency the President, the visionary leader that he is, has set up an interministerial committee. So you have somebody from the Lands Commission, you have somebody from the Ministry of Finance, from the Ministry of Communications, from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, from the National Security, from the Data Protection Commission, that are looking at two things. There's a bit about security, okay, and there's another committee that's looking at harmonization, the addressing system that the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development was putting in place. So that's the street naming things. So it's harmonizing the two systems so that, I mean, it all feeds into the right digital addressing system that we're going on. I had something quite interesting today when I was coming. A friend of mine called me and asked me that what you 999, and I'm like, what is that? So the digital address is now 9 characters. So now they don't say Shushemi Wami 18. It's 9. 9 is the term to use.
Wajo 9.
Wajo 9.
But does it mean that?
Sorry, just a minute. And And you do recall that I think over the past 3-4 weeks there's been an intensive teaser campaign, Jack, where are you?
Yes.
It was just a precursor to this campaign. So, I mean, basically, where are you? Have you found Jack? So,
Which agency was doing it?
I don't think that is relevant. It's not my responsibility to be marketing the agency that was doing it. My interest is about the client. The client was Ghana Post, and it was for this campaign.
Right. So does it mean if you don't have, let's say, a tablet, etc., or you're not hooked onto the internet?
Good. Well, we're saying that we're going to the time, okay? And we know that Ghana, within the sub-region, we seem to have the highest broadband penetration, broadband access penetration. But of course, we need to do more. We are, at the moment, we're about 70%. Madam S. Lewusu has been committed. She's been consistent in saying that she wants to deliver 100% broadband access. Affordable broadband access, and clearly we do that. So whilst we have a gap now, there's actually a physical team that is going to go from location to location, or from property to property, to help mop up and to help individuals secure their digital addresses.
Whatever we get from the platform, I haven't accessed it. Is it real time?
It's instant. You get your digital address instantly. Right. And I mean, you have to put in your phone number. I mean, some people were scared about that. Oh, somebody can come and stand in front of your house and get a digital address. But I mean, in all fairness, once the person standing in front of your house, then he knows your house already. You
right.
understand? But nobody. I cannot use your digital address for a one-off fraudulent activity, because, like I said, it's linked to all government services. It's linked to your phone number. Okay, so now when we do the re-registration, Edward's digital address has to be consistent with whatever he's doing for his Ghana card, and it's all tied together. And I'm sure that you know, like, for example, like in the Francophone countries, you move with your national card. You understand? So we're a bit late, okay, as far as going digital and as far as making sure that we have the Ghana card and have the property addressing system put in place or working, but it's not too late. We are getting there. We are happy with the progress that has been
so
made.
Even for the squatters in some parts of Ashaiman, they could have...
Yes, everybody. Once you have a physical 5x5 square meter, okay, there are coordinates to be able to generate a digital address for you.
Then another government seems to be working, Edward Bauer.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning to your viewers. I thought today was going to be a day that we will have a conversation devoid of giving jabs at each other.
Oh.
Oh, no. Hey, when you're talking, I didn't talk George. You know, George could have made his point without having to talk about coming from a place where Ghanaians thought that there was corruption, there was this. You remember his introduction. But you see, if it may be true that on the basis of, or maybe the decisions that Ghanaians made could be based on the fact that they had the perception of corruption. They may have a perception of that, and that's why there was a new government that was brought into power. But I don't think the new government in this has acquitted itself very well on those platforms. On the basis that, as we speak today, just about 10 months old government, we have huge issues of corruption that has come into our country that we have discussed. And that has even put, to a very large extent, state institutions into them. We're talking about the BOST issue. We're talking about the A+ issue. And in all these things, the fact that they use state institutions to, as it were, to exonerate the persons who were involved. So when he tries polluting this quote-unquote good initiative with such things, you mar the thing and you lose the message for which you have come here to give as a sector deputy minister. That being said, I think that the issue of addressing system has been something that all of us have asked for. Indeed, if you look at all the governments, there has always been the need to have that. If you go to the financial institutions now, and you want even credit, because of the lack of accurate address system, that clarity is not there. It even has an impact in terms of cost of credit. And so for all spheres of life, addressing system is something that is key. And rightly so, you had indicated that in the previous government there had been an effort to do that. You would not run away from the fact that the then sector where he is now had embarked on street naming. You do know that. and then trying to give numbers to houses. These were just the practical, direct naming of street. It was not digital. But of course, you also do know that in terms of mapping the country, I mean, I didn't need that app you have developed now to Google and know that I want to go to Joy FM. I'll be able to come. It will tell me where I am now. It will tell me the time I'm supposed to. It may even give me the shortest route, even before this. So all of us, as at last year, as at last 2 years, as at last 3 years, I was using that. For me, I'm very bad at directions. And so normally, if you're somewhere, you tell me that I should come, I just tell you, send me location on my WhatsApp, and I come. The difference now here is that they have developed an app to make things easier for all of us. So I agree that in all these things that we have done as a country, we have gotten to a place that you have developed an app, and an app that all of us can use. And for me, I applaud you for that. It's a very good initiative. But if you look at, I was just sitting there and looking at this, you see a big boost for doing business and financial inclusion.
Yeah, the president said it.
Yes. You realize that, run up to the elections, Bawumia, who is the spearhead, as it were, of this particular project? Because
Dr. Alhaji talked about it.
Okay. His Excellency Dr. Alhaji Bawumia,
Thank you.
who is the one spearheading this project, had given as one of his reasons the issue of financial inclusion, formalizing the economy and making sure that people took part in it. And the only way you could make that was to ensure that you had such things like very good address system. If you take the NCA itself as we speak now, their own data that they have provided indicates that in this country, we have about 30 million phones in the system. Out of this number, only 6 million are smartphones. What it clearly tells you is that if you do not possess a smartphone, you can't be part of the story. Because you need to download an app. If you are using your 4x4 phone in Bongo, or in Zabzugu, or Axim.
But is it not a step? Because
I'm just trying to make. You remember that
we're all digital people
yes,
now these days.
Yes,
but there's always a back end to whatever digital platform there are.
So a backup.
Yes.
A backup.
Apart from a backup, there's also a back end. So if let's say you're not using a digital system, you can always get some kind of black and white, kind of
I believe that when I was talking, I did say that apart from the digital, unless I missed it, there's actually a team that is going around properties that would assist those that don't have access to smart devices to secure their digital addresses. Okay. So that's
so the point I'm just making, it still goes back to the same story. As we speak now, out of the 30 million phones that are in the system, only about 6 million will be currently active as of today. If the whole idea is to financially include people who otherwise were not involved, and particularly these are people who have very low income status.
And so cannot afford this.
And therefore cannot afford that. Because what I believe that as a state, yes, this is a very good step, but there's a drawback on that. And that is what I was just pointing out to George, that look, that is a good step. You are building on something. You have developed an app in your 10 months. You have developed an app, which is very normal to develop an app in 10 months. You have developed an app, and you have decided to launch an app. But this was based on previous work that had been done. But as a country, we should all support it. Let's see how we can ensure that your economic circumstance does not become a barrier in being included in this process. That is just the whole point I'm making. But the whole idea is good. If today I can properly sit down and say that, come to my house without saying that if you can, you see a monkey on a tree. If you see the monkey on the tree just on the left, that is where my house is. If I don't have to say that, but I can just tell you and give you a code, and on the basis of that you will come. It means that we have made progress.
Roland, may I come in? I'm a bit confused with the position that Edward is taking. In one breath, he's saying that we've done well. In the other breath, he's saying that he doesn't see what we have done because it's the same as Google Maps. But you see, I think
excuse me, maybe, no. if that is the basis for which you are going to make your point, let me make my point.
Let me finish.
You have set a wrong premise. How do I allow you to continue?
Let me finish, then you can come in.
No, because you have set a question
okay,
that
Eddie,
you have to answer.
Just let him go.
In your opening statement, you said His Excellency the President had spoken about the financial inclusion. Indeed, he also made preference to that from His Excellency the Vice President.
For me, it's one thing.
And there were three pillars. There were three pillars as far as making sure that we can open up the opportunities for Ghanaians. The key bit is about making sure that the economy is working. Beyond that, His Excellency the President and His Excellency the Vice President, from the time that we're campaigning and even today, are committed to the issuance of the national ID card, the Ghana card. We committed to the digital property addressing system, and we are committed to financial inclusion through operability of different platforms. So it is not just about getting a map or directions to go to your house. You should be able to see beyond just the map. Okay, and I think that is where he seems to be getting it wrong, because it's not that what we're doing.
Are you sure he's getting it? It's not rather he's prompting.
No, you see, you have to understand that it is not for any reason that His Excellency the President made reference to these three pillars. You understand? It is for Ghanaians to see the bigger picture in what we are doing. If you don't know a plan for a house, when they start digging the foundation, you probably think that they are digging a borehole. And His Excellency the President, just because some people could get confused, mentioned these three pillars. And I expect that based on that background that His Excellency the President has provided, whatever commentary that we are having on this will not just be restricted to the digging of the ground, but to the skyscraper, okay, that is being built. And that is where I want to draw your attention to.
Okay.
So it's can I
you just spoke for God long, how long on this thing? You wanted to make an intervention. You are making a fresh.
But
okay,
we have a host.
We
have a host.
No,
if he thinks that I'm talking, excuse my friend, something that's irrelevant, he will draw my attention to.
Okay.
We are doing this to educate the viewers as well.
I came here also to talk.
All right. But you have your time to talk. Okay. You have your time to talk.
So there's a bigger picture than just digging the foundation.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting a direction to a location is a plus. Okay. But having a digital address that would enable you to access financial services, that would enable you to access government services, okay, that will enable you to access emergency services. It's not about Google Maps, okay, and it's not about physical street naming. So if you keep on thinking in this backward way, then you obviously would have a challenge in seeing the vision of His Excellency the President, and that's the point that I wanted to draw
your conclusion,
attention to.
Look, let me make this one. You see, George and his kind are good.
You mean George and members of the MPP and government?
Yes.
Okay.
Are good at making things, and all they do is just to scratch the surface and claim ownership. When they talk of people who plagiarize even ideas, you go past George and his people, you will never get that. And indeed, I take offense.
No. I take offense to
plagiarizing.
I take offense to the statement that he has made.
That's
okay, and putting my name and my party in there.
Yeah.
Okay, we are having a decent conversation. If we, I wouldn't get into
George,
that
you
kind
just,
of, I'm just for the records, I'm just saying I take offense.
George,
go.
Okay, but George, you were so comfortable in saying that if you start thinking backwardly this way, I never took offense to that.
Did I mention your name?
Yes.
Did I mention your party?
You start thinking backwardly.
But
that's all right. That's all
Okay.
right.
So it's now been evened, equalized.
No, I didn't intend equalizing. I was just trying to tell him that I was properly describing.
Let's move on. The point you wanted to make was that.
The point I was trying to make was that, if you recall, when Kennedy Japan accused the communications minister about the fact that there was some fraudulent deals that went on in the course of award on this national ID card thing. If you remember what Oslo Akufu said, was that the contract had already been awarded before she came. So there was no way she could have been involved in any kickback in that. If you remember that story.
Yes, I remember.
Yes, which contract was that? It was a contract that was started by the previous government. And therefore we...
But that's got to do with the NIA, right?
It had to basically do with the idea of ensuring that we identify ourselves very well, whether it's NIA, whether it is national, whether it is the address system.
So your point is?
The point I'm just trying to make is that, and that was the point I was just making to him. I said, look, I support what the government is doing now. It's building on what past governments have done. Not only even under the John Mahama government, not even under the Atamil's government, even from the Akufo-Addo's government. There has been a gradual progress in trying to ensure that we have proper identification, whether it is for the individuals, whether it's for property, whether it is for even our address system and what have you. And so the point I came to is that we have gotten to a state where, as we speak today, what we now have is to develop an app to top up all these things we are doing. And I gave you an instance that as at last year, as at last 2 years, I could still come to this place using Google Map to come here. I could still go to point B using that. But of course, these are supposed to be structures that are in place for the current government to build on that. And I applauded them for that. But my challenge has always been, when we create an impression as if we were living in a void and you suddenly came in, and in 10 months, you've been able to put X, Y, Z, and we are where we are, without acknowledging that there has been work done over the period.
But he, at the beginning of his statement, his first submission.
No, his first statement, what he alluded to was corruption. What he alluded to was the fact that people
had started something and that.
Look.
Okay, but
look,
let's
so the point is,
because this is generating.
Yes. So let me
talk
AMERI. No. I will talk AMERI. We'll talk AMERI. Yeah, we'll talk AMERI. So I just
in
want
25 minutes I have to wrap up.
I just want George to understand that we applaud them for what they have done, but they should also acknowledge that this has been.
I think that unless
George has not.
You see, Roland.
George has not. But in any case, let's go on to AMERI.
Roland, you see,
no.
When you are coming to a discussion with a pre-programmed script.
Look, what is the script here?
With a pre-programmed script, anywhere that they take you to, you have to go back to that pre-programmed script. With all due respect, you had power. Okay, nothing stopped you from having the vision to do what
What vision are you talking about?
To do. Listen, I will not debate this issue.
The vision of developing an app.
Okay. The commitment to fight Galamsey, the reduction of taxes,
your Galamsey after
the expansion of LEAP, free SHS, the Ghana card, the national digital property addressing system.
When you are making this, talking is not the issue. Let's go to AMERI. Let's go to AMERI.
Ghanaians
a former deputy
government
minister of energy and sitting member of parliament, Katie Hammond,
the president that is making things happen,
who is a member of parliament for Adansia Sokwa, has accused AMERI of gross misrepresentation and justifiably pocketing $150 million US dollars from the power deal with the government. He said the AMERI Energy represented itself as the entity which was to raise 110 million. And let's talk about AMERI. We know the minority bucketed the Committee on Mines and Energy sittings yesterday as they opened some discussions on this.
Yeah, I think Honorable Katie Hammond has said that he has some evidence that seems to suggest that there's some amount of malfeasance that is involved with this whole AMERI contract. A number of issues that he has raised, being that the cost of generation, when you look at it on an average level globally, the price that we seem to have been contracted, the price that we seem to have contracted seems to be inflated. And he also believes that it seems like AMERI was acting as a middleman to secure this contract and then subcontracted to somebody else. I believe that per the processes of Parliament, per the rules of Parliament, there's nothing wrong with what Honorable Katie Hammond is doing. And I would have expected that the Mines and Energy Commission would have sat to the Mines and Energy Commission of Parliament would have sat through, I mean, all members would have sat through and actually investigated the information that Honorable Katie Hammond was bringing to the House. Now, that said, I do agree with the minority that the case would have to go to court, and I'm aware that the government is putting together the documentation that will enable the government to go to court to do what needs to be done next. So for me, I don't think that we should be bashing each other on this issue. It's just different opinions, different views that are talking about the same thing. We're all working in the best interest of Ghana. If the Mines and Energy Committee do their investigation and they think that there's reason for the information to be brought back to the House either way, then so be it. But that said, the legal process to seek redress would also be done.
Nadi?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that I will just...
Are you a member of the committee?
Yeah, Mines and Energy.
So you didn't sit in?
No. Okay. For the proper deliberations, you know. But we sat in at the early stages to know what they summoned us for. I think that I will start from where George ended. As a country, anything that will enhance our opportunities and give more money and other things to our people is something we should support. And therefore, in principle, the minority has nothing against investigating the AMERI deal if it will inure to the benefit of Ghana. Because for us, our belief is that if you look at everything, we did everything to the best of our ability. That being said, the very reason why we boycotted this sitting was based on some principal grounds. First and foremost, you realize that the purposes or maybe the activities of the Parliament are governed by two documents. That's the standing orders and the Constitution of Ghana. Per our understanding, we knew very clearly that we didn't go through these two, we didn't use these two documents to dictate the behavior in which we put up with regards to what I call it, the AMERI deal. And we didn't want to be part of any bad precedent. Besides, I don't want to rehash why we made that. But there's yet another reason, and the reason is because of a Supreme Court ruling. You do know that, yes, Parliament has a constitutional rule to ensure that we give approval for any international financial and economic agreement between two parties in which government of Ghana is part of it. And therefore, it is something that is our role. But the moment we finish passing that, we finish approving that, our role vanishes, as it were. And it is now something that has to do with the government of Ghana and the party that is involved. So we felt that as Parliament, in getting ourselves involved in that, was to a very large extent perpetuating some illegality. And we are doing this on the basis of a Supreme Court ruling. And I did yesterday, Honorable Katie Hammond alluded to that. That has to do with John Ndebubiri and then the Attorney General.
That's the case you're citing?
Yes.
Okay.
And in that particular, the Supreme Court held that where Parliament exercises its constitutional function of approving an agreement, without indicating that it has a future role in the termination or variation of the terms of the agreement, Parliament cannot subsequently purport to partake in terminating or varying such terms. That is what the court ruled on this, but it had to do with the Ake block that we spoke about. So that is the reason why we felt that as a minority, there was no way we could get ourselves involved in that. That being said, I think George was alluding to the fact that Katie Hammond, and for that matter, government has a feeling that Ghana could have gotten a better deal than we have as we speak now. For us, we need to make it very clear. See, the notion being sent out there seems to me that Ghana paid an amount of money, 450 more than that.
It's not an issue. That's the position of the member of Parliament.
In the first place, government of Ghana never paid a dime. This thing was a BOT arrangement. But in that particular thing, the things that you will use, if for example, I come to Kokomlemle here and I want to put up a building here that looks the same like...
Are you saying that Katie Hammond, the Honourable Member of Parliament, was giving every indication that there was an upfront payment. That's not at the end of that's not at the heart of
That's
the
the point I'm just, you see.
What is at the heart of the discussion that whatever it is, ultimately, the Ghanaian taxpayer.
That's the point I'm just coming to. Ultimately, that's the point I'm just coming to.
Ghana was going to pay
that is the
$150 million.
Yes, so that's the point I'm going to make.
Yes.
So in doing that, you need to compare AMERI to like plants in Ghana. You understand the point I'm making? To know whether we are making a good deal or we're not making a good deal. If you compare AMERI as we speak today to 7 other plants in Ghana, thermal plants in Ghana, in terms of the composite generation tariff that you are supposed to be paying.
But that's irrelevant to the
No, it is not.
why is it not? Why is it not irrelevant?
Let me give you why you say it's not. It's irrelevant. It's not relevant. You have a situation where we are going to pay for this tariff for this plant on the basis of tariff over a period of time. So you take the same type of plant and say, okay, you are charging us for this for the same period of time. How much are you charging us for? So cumulatively, how much will we be paying for this? In the same way, you come to AMERI, use the same basis, because we are not paying upfront. We are paying using tariff. So I said that if you look at the composite generation tariff, if you look at the capacity tariff, if you look at even in terms of cost per kilowatt hour installed, for example, assuming that you are doing 250 megawatts. So if you are doing 250 megawatts, how much is it costing us to install 1 kilowatt hour? You understand the point I'm making?
I understand you.
Because that's how you get to know the value.
But that is not at the heart of the discussion. What you're telling me is you're telling me about the pros and cons or the advantage. No. The advantages of us having this power plants and how it inures to whatever it is.
It is not the
no. Benefit to the ordinary consumer.
No, that's not what I've said.
That's not at the heart of the discussion.
That is not what I have said.
We're talking. I think the Honourable Member of Parliament is indicating that we could have had this whole sum of the agreement lower than we had it.
That is the point I'm saying, that it is not
It's not about how beneficial or not.
That is why I am saying that
this outcome of this agreement was.
Roland.
I think that's at the heart of the discussion.
Roland.
Yes, sir.
You remember that it was not for nothing. That had indicated very clearly that we didn't have an upfront payment. So the only way we're going to pay for this over a period of time was going to be through tariffs. And therefore, if you want to know the value of the plant, you will need to look how much cumulatively the tariff you are going to pay. What is going to be the total sum of that? And you compare that to the similar plant and see whether
it doesn't take away the fact that in the processes of making sure we had this plant, for which we would have had the best of the cumulative tariffs.
Yes.
The suspicion is that we may have overpaid.
The point I'm making. So how will you know?
Or we would have
how
overpaid.
Will you know? How will you know?
No, wait. We would have overpaid at the end of the period of the transfer of the plant to us.
Yes. So that's at the point
of the issue.
So how you will only get to know that?
Remember.
Assuming that I have to pay for this gadget you have here. I'm supposed to pay for it.
I do understand you're trying to justify and all that.
Yes. So if I want to make a value for money for this.
And the other argument that the minority is making is that all this is shredded in law. And the agreement in itself doesn't give a certain recourse because it's not be stipulated in the black and white for Parliament to have a certain recourse.
We've moved beyond that now.
Yeah,
that's why
excuse me.
We've moved beyond that. And that's the first part I had indicated.
Right.
The second part I'm indicating is that if you look at Katie Hammond's argument, his argument was that, look, AMERI came for this particular deal. And then went globe shopping, looking for anybody who could do it for them to be able to get
that's what he says.
He says. Now, if you look at all the thermal plants we have in Ghana, the contract has always been that
between a party that
and
goes to sublet another party.
No, the contract has always been government of Ghana and whoever is supposed to do that. The contract has always been that the company will have to deliver a thermal plant at a particular time within a specific period. Anything between the second party, that is the contractor, and an EPC contractor has nothing to do with you. All you are interested in is that the amount I'm paying. Hold on.
Even if you have second-hand information, that is indicating ultimately at the end of the day you're going to pay more than you should have.
Yes. So if you know, that's the point I'm making. The only way you can get to know that is on the basis of the fact that what I am paying for, compared to what we have paid in the past for similar plants, In terms of value for money.
That's not at the heart of the issue.
What is the heart of the issue?
You want to make that a subject of discussion.
No, I am not making that.
Please wrap up. So
yes, I'm not making that.
You come back
yes,
again.
yes. I'm not making that because the point
Mr. Edward, you want to, I think the minority in Parliament wants to make that part of the discussion or the argument in trying to defeat whatever Katie Hammond is raising. Is that not the
question is that if you say that Ghana has been defrauded by virtue of this particular process, you'll be talking on
Nobody's
the
talking
basis
about being defrauded.
Oh, I mean, somebody's taking
Nobody's saying that we've paid more. Nobody is using the word defraud.
No, the person misrepresentation. That is the basis for which Katie Hammond came to Parliament, asking us to rescind.
Misrepresentation.
So
may not.
I mean, on what basis?
It could be by default. It's not necessarily meaning that there was an intention to
go back and read the ministerial report.
I've read that report.
And they had indicated, and you remember that in the ministerial report, they had even hinted fraudulent behavior in the ministerial report.
Mr. Edward Bauer,
yes.
I think what the minority wants to use as a banter or a counter to this argument being raised by Katie Hammond should also be stipulated clearly. That makes it sound more counterintuitive to the rationale of having proper due diligence undertaken and value for money.
Good,
for
and value for money
that is in the interest of the people
Good.
of Ghana.
So on the basis of that, PricewaterhouseCoopers conducted a value for money audit.
We do understand all that.
So on the basis of that,
please wrap up. So
if you look at Katie Hammond in terms of his capacity,
yes, sir,
and that of PwC,
yes, sir,
who has a better capacity in terms of valuing
I get your point on all
so
that.
if that is the case, and PricewaterhouseCoopers had indicated very clearly that looking at this particular project, Ghana had value for money. On what basis are you doing? And that's why Katie Hammond is not going after the contract. He's going after a third-party contract between AMERI and another company in Turkey, PPR. That has nothing to do with government of Ghana. And that is the argument I'm making.
I think I get you. I get to that point now. That will lead me to a certain question. But you come in.
You see, Roland is very interesting. If you realize that on this AMERI thing, I was very brief. I gave the background. I also indicated that Parliament.
Perhaps you didn't have much info.
No, it's not for. It is not because I didn't have info. I gave how Parliament works. That something was referred, an issue was referred by the Speaker to a committee. It is interesting that one side of the committee decides to boycott the deliberations of the committee, and we decide that we'll resort to the court of public opinion.
I don't get you.
The committee...
The argument the minority have been raising, they've been raising it for a very long time.
Hold on. The Energy and Mines Committee has representation from both sides of the House. Yes. The Energy and Mines Committee, in the wisdom of the leadership of Parliament, okay, has the best brains from both sides to discuss issues as far as energy and mine sector is concerned. And that is why he is on it and I am not on it, because he is much more capable of understanding the issues in that sector and giving value to that committee than I may. So if the Speaker, in his wisdom, refers an issue to the committee, it is for that committee to work as a team and for that committee to come back to the House and say that these are our findings. If you decide that you are going to boycott, okay, the committee of the Speaker, I ask myself, what is the reason why you are boycotting?
Well, it's in their rights, is it not one?
And we have stated the reasons.
You see, it's not everything that is your right that is good for you or is good for the country. You understand? The fact that certain things can be done doesn't mean that it should be done. You are here making debates on a certain direction. Even you who's not on the committee, you are punching holes in his debate.
It's not.
Okay. Oh no, can I? You are punching holes in his debate. Okay? You are worried about certain direction that is going. Repeatedly, you have said certain things that they are trying to dilute the big issue and focus on a slightly smaller issue. Okay, let us focus on the bigger thing. Let the Energy and Mines Committee, okay, once they have a quorum, they are allowed to work.
Yeah.
The Energy and Mines Committee will do the work that they have to do, irrespective of their participation.
Well, the minority said there are fears of judgment debts that could ultimately, because where
the
based
minority
on
says there are fears.
well, that's the
No,
argument I've heard.
we have not gone to that
Roland.
extent.
You've not
of
gone to
talking
that
about
extent.
the extent of. Yeah.
Roland.
Of course, if you go and abrogate a contract, a
Roland.
party can decide to invoke its rights within the contract.
Roland,
So,
I did say that eventually there would have to be a position that a court of competent jurisdiction would make a determination on this matter. However, the House wants to know whether the issues that Honorable Katie Hammond has made are issues that hold ground or they don't hold ground. Okay? And for now, it seems that the issue that Katie Hammond is making hold ground. Okay? You yourself have said that, and I'm choosing my words carefully. I'm using seems like, okay? It seems like a party came and contracted with the government of the day. That party then went and subcontracted with another party.
which is not wrong.
The fact that it's not wrong doesn't make it right, okay? And the fact that it may not be wrong doesn't mean that we should not integrate the subject matter. Okay, we should not go into the subject matter. We are trying to go into the subject matter. What was the motivation for so much to be left on the table for a third party to just be creaming at the expense of the Ghanaian taxpayer? You understand?
That's the position of the honourable member. It could not necessarily be the position
Roland,
of government of Ghana at the
Roland,
time and the
Roland,
Parliament of Ghana at the
Roland,
time that the agreement was
listen,
agreed.
Listen, if the good people of Ghana decide that 150 million of their taxes being left on the table for somebody and his friends to cream off.
No, but that's a bad statement in itself.
I said if.
If.
Okay, please.
Who and who is
I
friends?
said if.
I hope I'll have a bite before we
Okay,
end.
listen to my words carefully.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
Sir. Advisedly.
I said if the good people of Ghana feel when the evidence comes out, when the committee makes its findings, and they confirm indeed that this is what happens, if the good people of Ghana decide that this is okay to let it pass, that's the choice of the good people of Ghana. If, on the other hand, the government...
And yeah, the good people of Ghana are represented by Parliament.
Parliament and beyond.
Okay.
Okay? If, on the other hand, the executive believe that government, in its wisdom, can get a better transaction taking place, it is within its right to go through the right process to get a deal that is better for the good people of Ghana. So it's very early days yet. It's very early days yet, okay? But to try and create the impression that the fact that if whether somebody made money or not is neither here nor there, I think that is not right. Let us find out what it is. Okay, let us bring out the information.
He's not said that, but you're saying he's creating.
But I said to try and create the impression. Okay, let us get to the heart of the matter. Okay,
and here we're referring to a subject of value for money, right?
We're referring to the subject of value for money. You understand? And don't forget that one of our commitments that we have made is to reduce the tariffs, okay, that the Ghanaian,
but you do
Spain,
know, ultimately, it will be the best tariff if you make comparisons to other competitors.
There could be better tariffs. The fact that we are fighting for a better package means that there are other opportunities, or that we could probably get a better deal from them going forward.
I'll wrap up for you. Unfortunately, I only have 3 minutes for you.
Okay, don't worry. I'll use the 3 minutes.
Okay, sir.
First and foremost, let me state that we never brought this into the public domain again to discuss. Indeed, it was after yesterday's meeting that the voice recordings of that meeting, which was just made up of the MPP and Katie Hammond, was sent to the media, and they sent it to me.
I don't understand you.
The point I'm trying to make is
the media sat through the initial.
No, the point I'm just trying to make is that what we are debating today and talking about came to the public domain through the minority, through the majority, and not through the minority. We were only responding to what Katie Hammond has said on air.
Okay.
Roland, so that's the first point.
Roland,
no, when you're talking, when you have 3 minutes,
when you are accused, every subcommittee meeting. Let me
make my point. I wouldn't allow this. George, I won't allow this. George, I won't allow this. George, I won't allow this. See, George, I would not allow this. George, I would not allow this. I say, listen to me.
Because we have
recordings of Katie Hammond. Let me tell you.
But what shows as a majority?
No, I'm not. That's why I'm telling him that.
Let me make my point.
It could not necessarily have been a leak.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. You see, the point I'm just making to you, the meetings of yesterday, the proceedings of yesterday, the people who were there were the minority, the majority component of the committee, and Katie Hammond.
Did you have the clerks there?
I'm coming. I'm making my point.
Did you have the
let me make my point. Let me make my point. Can I make my point? Can I make my point? Can I make my point?
The proceedings of a committee of parliament.
Let me make my point.
I've sat through a couple, so I know.
Okay.
You see, George, you have been unfair. There were a lot of things you said I could have just gone in, but I respected the fact that the host wanted us not to interrupt.
No, but here you are.
Point. No, so let me make my point.
Wrapping up.
You see, so that's the president. And indeed, after Katie Hammond made his submission, he addressed the press. And stated these same issues and indicated that he was sad that the minority was not part of this particular deliberation. It was on the basis of that we reacted. So that's the first part. And we indicated that, look, even at the floor of parliament, when our minority leader wanted to raise these irregularities, and Mr. Speaker never gave him the chance, we moved out of parliament. The Committee on Mines and Energy is a subcommittee. It's just a smaller portion of the bigger plenaries that we always have. So if we boycott that, on what basis are we going back there? Is it that the principles have changed? We are not sitting in these things, not because we are scared about anything. We think that the government reserves the right to go to court to ask for a review of the contract, and if it does that and it benefits Ghanaians, we are all for it. But we are not ready to be part of any precedent that will set a very bad thing for future generations. Because it has never happened in this parliament. It has never happened in any parliament.
Would that have been? Edward Bawa. Edward Bawa is a member of parliament for Bongo. He's been in the studio with Nenyi George Anda, who is a member of parliament for Ewutu Senya West constituency, but also a deputy minister for communications. I know that the discussion will still be ongoing.